the flight time was 40 hours for a flight that would normally take 12 hours. I went halfway across the world to get to Canada. Hi, my name is John, and 8 years ago I was diagnosed with ADHD. I am here to help you. So let's go. Hey, so I'm just going to go over a few things in this video. 1, what is the ADHD tax? 2, some examples of the ADHD tax from my life. And 3, how you might be able to keep the ADHD tax at bay. The ADHD tax is the price that an ADHD person has to pay for their mistakes because they are forgetful, because they are impulsive, because they are an ADHD person. And the ADHD tax can be small sometimes, but can sometimes balloon into something crazy. And I've got a lot of life experience with this ADHD tax. The ADHD tax has caused me many problems and has cost me time, money, and opportunities. The ADHD tax is real. It's basically the price that an ADHD person has to pay because they are ADHD. It's the cost of their mistakes. It's the cost of their forgetfulness. It's the cost of the symptoms. It's the cost of their weaknesses, basically. So, for example, very, very simple example, an ADHD person has very poor memory, right? So maybe they have a credit card, they've used it a couple times, and then they just forgot they had the credit card. That credit card has a balance that needs to be paid every month, but the ADHD person forgot about that credit card. So, because they forgot about it, now they've got to pay interest on the balance. Now their credit score is going down because they're forgetting to pay for their credit card balance. And over time, it's costing them money. It's costing them their credit score. It's, costing them important resources for themselves. And that's a very small, very, very, very small, very common example of the ADHD tax. The ADHD tax can be immensely huge depending on the type of mistakes, the recurrence of the mistakes, and a lot of other factors too. And it's not just financial or time. It's also relationship, right? The ADHD tax can impact your relationships. I forget my significant other's birthday. Now they're angry at me. I forget to call my brother or sister, and I promised them that I would do that. Now they're angry at me. I forget to do something for my coworker. I forget to do something for my boss. Now they think that I'm incompetent. I just have ADHD. I forget things all the time. And this is the cost. This is the tax that I have to pay because of my disability. And I've got many examples from my life that I'm going to go through now. I live in Japan. And I've been here for a few years now, and many times I have to fly back to my hometown in Canada. And flight tickets are expensive, and over time, if you buy your tickets at the last minute, they get more expensive. So there was one time where I had to go home it was a wedding. And I could have done the sensible thing that a normal person would have done, buy the tickets a month or two ahead of time. At that time, the prices would have been great. There would have been a lot of seats available, and you could have a very direct, very sensible amount of flying time between, Osaka and where I need to go in Canada. Being an ADHD person, I just completely abandoned all of that. I forgot about it. I said, I'll do it later. I don't feel like doing it now. I'll do it later. I'll put that off. Let's procrastinate a little bit. Slowly but surely, the time catches up to me. And now it's 1 week until I need to fly back to Canada. But what do you know? There are no flights left, and all the flights that are available are super expensive. A normal flight would be maybe $1,200, $1,400. And a normal flight would maybe take me around 12 hours to get to my destination from Osaka. The only flights that were available were super expensive and took a very long time. And because I procrastinated to the very end, I ended up having to buy a ticket for $3,000, and the flight time was 40 hours. So 40 hours for me to get to where I need to go for a flight that would normally take 12 hours. I went halfway across the world to get to Canada. I went the completely opposite direction to get to Canada. I went through Munich, Germany, and then San Francisco, and then Canada to get to Canada. Normally, I would go from Osaka to Vancouver into my destination, but no, I decided to go halfway around the world. It cost me time, it cost me money. This is the ADHD tax, and it's fucking crazy. And this is a very small example too. There was another time where I had to fly back home for the holidays, and again, last minute, I got a ticket. I got a ticket much later than I should have. I ended up missing Christmas. I ended up staying in a hotel for 3 or 4 days because of all the flight cancellations and weather and things like that. And staying in the hotel in Seattle for 3 or 4 days cost me a ton of money. That's the ADHD tax as well. A more recent example this year was I forgot to pay for my phone bill for my phone line in Canada. And, I forgot to pay that over a few months. And because I forgot to pay that over a few months, my phone line got cut. I lost my number. I no longer have that phone number in Canada because I forgot to pay it, because I forgot to pay my bill. And now, because I forgot to pay this bill, because I lost this phone number, now all the institutions, all the companies, all the services that use that Canadian phone number that I used to have, now I need to change them all. Now I need to contact the bank. Now I gotta contact the cable provider. And now I gotta contact the government and tell them, sorry, that phone number is not available anymore. I don't have that phone number anymore. I gotta change my number. That's a pain in the ass. That's a waste of my time. And it's all because of my forgetfulness. The stories go on and on about, forgetfulness and the impact of forgetfulness and the impact of ADHD. I've got a few other stories here as well. When I was young, I had a very old cell phone. I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. And I had a cell phone, and I just was stuck on my cell phone all the time, just hyper focusing on my phone all the time. But I didn't know at that time about data charges. And at that time, data charges were super expensive. So I would just stay on my phone all the time, just using the data and everything. And over time, the data cell phone cost, the cost of the data for that cell phone blew up to $2,000 across a month. My parents were really pissed at me for that. And it's something that was a result of me being distracted, getting stuck, getting hyper-focused on something that was very costly that I didn't know about. That's another example. I have many other examples here too. Let's see here. My relationships. I often lose touch with my friends and my family. Every single year, I forget my best friend's birthday. I forget which day it is exactly. So I'm always guessing which day is it? Which day is it? I feel like it's now, it's soon, it's got to be around this time. And it's embarrassing. It's I got to wish this guy happy birthday because he's my best friend. But I just forget. I have really bad memory. So I have to look up my notes and look up emails. I'm I made a memo of this before. I knew I had this problem last year, so I wrote it down somewhere. Turns out I didn't. And, every year I go through this. But it's not, there's no ill intent in it. I just forget. It's not because I hate the guy. It's not because I don't care about him. It's just because I forget. And the same thing goes with my family. It's I love my family. I care for them so much, but because I don't see them all the time, I just forget about them. So I forget to send them messages. I forget to give them phone calls. I forget to ask how they're doing because I just forget. It's not because I don't love them. It's just because I forget. And I think a lot of people take that the wrong way, that when I forget, they interpret that as malicious intent. They interpret that as ill intent. They interpret that as I don't care. No, I care. I just fucking forgot. Another example, I live in Japan. And when I first came here, I knew I had to join the sort of national pension program. And to join the national pension program, I've got to make these monthly payments, right? So, okay, I get told by City Hall, okay, I've got to do these monthly payments, make sure you submit them on time. Of course, I forget. And month over month, all the pension payments that I should have been making build up over time. And over the last 3 years, because I've forgotten to pay this, I ended up accumulating about maybe $10,000 worth of pension payments that I should have paid over the last 3 years. And it's like, this is the ADHD tax all over again. Just a few months ago, the pension office was sending me letters about how I could get in trouble, how they're demanding that I make payment. And so I had to ask other people to help me to make lump sum payments to this pension thing so I didn't get into trouble with the government. This is part of the ADHD tax. Now, extrapolate this to other parts of your life. Maybe you've got to renew your driver's license, but you forgot. Now you're driving without a driver's license and maybe you get into an accident or something. This tax is debilitating, and the cost of this tax can be anywhere from really tiny to enormously huge, enormously impactful. These are just some examples from my life, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people with similar stories about how forgetting costs them money, how being impulsive costs them money. And this is just a small sample of what the ADHD tax is. But I hope with this, I can communicate the severity, the magnitude, the impact that the ADHD tax has on ADHD people and the people around those who have ADHD. Friends, family, coworkers, things like that. So here are some ways I've been able to manage this ADHD tax. Sort of prevent the cost, prevent the losses, prevent myself from causing problems for myself. And first, medication. Medication helps reduce the impulsivity, and it helps you think about your actions before you do them. It also helps you think about the long term. So medication. Medication is the first line of defense, and I recommend you start with medication. Now, outside of medication, this is what I recommend to help keep yourself under control, keep the tax under control. Once you've taken the medication, you are able to use things like schedules, calendars, timers, reminders, things like that. And those things will help reinforce you to doing the things you need to do, such as buying a plane ticket well in advance, or, reminding you of when so-and-so's birthday is, or reminding you that you have a meeting next week, or that you have an appointment tomorrow. Medication used with these tools will help you stay on track, will help keep the ADHD tax at bay. Another thing I recommend is to get someone to keep an eye on you. Whether it's your significant other, your best friend, your sibling, or your parent, or someone, ask them to keep an eye on you. Get them to ask you to say, hey, have you done this and this? Did you forget about this and this? Have this person sort of be your assistant in some ways. Get them to remind you, get them to check in on you, get them to keep you accountable. So finding someone to help you, to keep you on track, to keep an eye on you really helps. Finances, money, can be a very scary thing for ADHD people because we're very impulsive, because we don't plan for the future. ADHD people are prone to reckless spending. If you keep things like credit card limits low, if you make sure that other people can see, can observe, can monitor your spending via shared accounts or being able to look at your transactions, that helps as well. That allows people to keep an eye on you. This strategy really relies on you reaching out for help, on you asking other people to help you. It's one thing I've struggled with for a long time, but I've learned that relying on others to keep you on track really helps. So those are a few things I recommend to help you keep on track, to help keep the ADHD tax low, and prevent the negative effects of ADHD and the ADHD tax. So thanks.